In this video, we're going to learn how to run Spring Boot from the command line. So during development, we spend most of our time in the IDE, so your favorite IDE of choice. However, we may want to run our Spring Boot applications outside of the IDE. And so one approach is running it from the command line. Now, when running from the command line, there's actually no need to have your IDE open and running. So whatever IDE you're using, you can simply do a file exit and move out of that and just run your app standalone or from the command line. So since we're using Spring Boot, the server is actually embedded in our jar file. So there's no need to have a separate server installed. There's no need to have Tomcat running separately because our Spring Boot apps are self-contained. Our Spring Boot apps actually include the server already. So since our Spring Boot apps are self-contained, then we have this mycoolapp.jar, and then this jar file actually includes our application code and the actual server. So it's a self-contained unit. There's nothing else you have to install. Now, running from the command line, you actually have two options. Option one is that you can use java-jar and give the name of your jar file. Or with option two, you can make use of the Spring Boot Maven plugin by simply giving Maven Spring Boot :run. I'll show you both options here in this video. So the first option, option one, is that we simply make use of java-jar. So if we have a Spring Boot application called mycoolapp.jar, then we can simply run it from the command line by saying java-jar, and then we give the actual name of our jar file, in this case, mycoolapp.jar. And it'll start up our application, it'll start up the server, and it's up and running. There's no need for an IDE. There's no need to have a separate server installed. Here, we're all self-contained. So let's look at option two of using the Spring Boot Maven plugin. So remember, in our Spring Boot project, we have these Maven W commands. They allow us to run a Maven project. And in this case with Maven W, there's no need to have Maven installed or present on your path. If the correct version is not there, then it'll automatically download the correct version of Maven. And remember, we covered this in a previous video. So they give you two files here from Maven W. You get the mavenw.cmd for Microsoft Windows, and there's also the mavenw.sh for Linux Mac. So again, just makes it really easy for you to get started with Maven without actually having to manually install it yourself. What if you already have Maven installed? Well, in that case, you can simply ignore or delete those Maven W commands and get rid of them and simply just use Maven as you normally would. So you'd say Maven clean compile test, blah, blah, blah. No need for Maven W. All right, so a bit more here into the specifics here with this Spring Boot Maven plugin. So in your pom.xml file, you already have this entry here that was generated by the Spring Initializer. We have this plugin here for the artifact ID of Spring Boot Maven plugin. So we can use this plugin to actually package an executable jar file or a WAR file, and we can also use it to easily run our application. So to package our application, we say Maven W package, and then to actually run our application using a Spring Boot plugin, we say Maven W Spring Boot :run. And remember, we can also just use Maven package or Maven Spring Boot run if we already have Maven installed. All right, so let's look at our development process here. So what we'll do in this next section is we'll actually exit the IDE, and then we'll actually package the application using Maven W package, and then we'll run it first using java-jar, and then we'll also come back and we'll run it using a Spring Boot Maven plugin of Maven W Spring Boot :run. And we'll see how different things work out, different scenarios of running Spring Boot from the given command line.